Okay, hi everyone. So we're here. We are having some technical difficulties right now. Antonietta was on with us just briefly, and then her camera vanished, and then she completely disappeared from our live stream. So we're trying to get her back on. And then Estefania, well, she's a very special person, and there goes Carlos. So she's actually hosting the Oscars right now for, I think, Azteca Television. Carlos definitely knows. So we moved our show to 6 p.m. so that we could accommodate the fact that Stefania is hosting the Oscars right now for this channel, the Spanish language channel. But we got a text message saying that she's running late. So we don't know how late she's running right now. I'm just going to bring Carlos back in. I see him. And for those who are just joining, Antonietta, we don't know what happened to her. She was on with us and then we lost her connection. Hi, Carlos.
Hi, how's it going? I apologize. We have
It's no problem. Share the screen here with you. Yes, I was just explaining to the audience that Estefania is hosting the Oscars. For which network? Do you
she's
know?
with Azteca TV, which is a Mexican channel. So she's been the host for the Oscars for that particular news agency for several years now. So an amazing actress and host for the Oscars. So we're hoping that she'll be able to be with us shortly. Um, Again, I received a message for her. She was tied up with last minute stuff that happened. So hopefully, again, we can have her soon.
Yeah, so as I said earlier, we moved from 10 a.m. to our 6 p.m. slot to accommodate her Oscar hosting. But I guess as it goes in show business, everything is always up in the air. So we're hoping to get her on with us soon. If anything, we'll take a break and then we'll come back once she's on the air with us. But thank you, everyone. Good evening, James, Julie, and everyone else who's watching. If you have any questions that you want to throw at us right now, that's fine. Otherwise, we'll just hang out here and see if we can get Antonietta back. At least maybe we can get that poetry reading done and have a good show. So it's just one of those days, I guess, where all of the odds line up in such a way where our show is just Carlos and myself. And unfortunately, Carlos is still a little under the weather with his asthma, so it's hard for him to speak. Because I thought, at the very least, it would be really great for me to just interview him, and so that you, the audience, can get to know him a little bit better. But it's still hard for him to talk, so we don't want to put too much pressure on him right now. And I think he just hopped off. Maybe he's still trying to reach Estefania. So let me put him back in here. Hey, Carlos.
Sorry about that.
Any luck?
No, well, we have um, Antonieta, which she's a poet, a Colombian-born poet, and she's gonna be with us. She was on, and something happened with her computer.
Yeah.
Uh, she's trying to reconnect. Hopefully, we can get her. If not, what we're thinking of doing, Margaret, is moving
Mm-hmm.
later, maybe to 7 o'clock, to work these things
Yeah.
out, and we can hop on so that we can uh, be able to have them on board because they have such an important message, especially right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And if anything, that gives me time to eat some dinner. So that works out for me. I hope that works out for the audience. But we'll just hang on a little bit longer and see if Antonietta gets back on with us.
Definitely, we can get back to 7 o'clock. Look, we're not professionals. We do this as
We're pros.
oh,
It's just sometimes we just don't have any money, so we don't have like producers putting guests on hold for us to come in at the last minute. We're just doing this all as best as we can to bring you all the good
this is
grassroots
all a
organizing
true
that we can.
exactly a true grass
Yeah.
organizing. We do what we can. We try to be as professional as we can, but at the end of the day, it comes from the heart, and that's how we work from the heart. We want to be able to give voice to the people that are doing very important work on the ground. And so is the case with Estefania. You have heard from her before in the past, her amazing work at the border, where she's operating 3 schools for migrant children. And a lot of these children are being moved to the States right now, to different parts, different cities. We want to talk to her about this. And we want to
Yeah,
talk
well,
about, right.
yeah, absolutely. We will at some point. As we said, she's tied up uh, at the Oscars still, last minute thing. But there was a comment here from James. He was just this is not related to Stefania, but I think that this is on a lot of people's mind who follow the Bernie Sanders Brigade page, which is that so his question is, are we building a coalition for a third party? The undemocratic party doesn't deserve you. So Carlos, maybe this is a nice time to, while we're waiting, to kind of riff a little bit on third parties. So what's your opinion on third parties?
Well, I think it's important. We need to have a third party. Uh, and there are groups that are working to build a third party. But as you can imagine, it's not an easy task. And we are fighting the powers. In the meantime, the problem is, in the meantime, there are very, very important issues that affect literally millions of people. So we cannot put things on hold because their lives depend on that. So we have to be still engaged in this system that we're in. Now, one of the things that I don't know if you have noticed, that the progressive movement keeps gaining ground, keeps gaining momentum. We're doing such a great work in electing new people to office. Those are the things that are needed. So we have to be able to work on the inside and the outside. So uh, with time, I believe that we're going to have the opportunity to build a third party. And I don't knock anybody that dedicates 100% of the time doing that, but I don't knock anybody that still are working within the system, because we need to have voices in there. Otherwise, we have nothing. So that's my take. Again, I don't talk about people that are working to build a third party, that they should be also working in the inside. That's their choice, and vice versa. We should be able to encourage and support those people that are still working on the inside, because they're doing tremendous work. Case in point, look at the momentum that we have right now with healthcare for all here in California, with public banking, and many other issues that we have been able to push working on the inside. So thank you for your
Thank
question,
you.
James.
Thank you, Carlos. And I would just add that I personally think that we definitely need to have more parties. Should not be a two-party system. And I think that at times, if we allow ourselves to be part of the Democratic Party, that we're also giving up a little bit of our own autonomy. So I would like to see some of our power players in the progressive movement, specifically members of the squad, come together and consider forming a third party of their own, because they have that star power, and that's probably going to be one of the best ways to jumpstart a third party movement within this country. Although it's certainly happening at the grassroots as more people become disaffected with the Democratic Party, because obviously their base are the corporate donors and not the working class people. So that's my take. I totally agree with Carlos's as well. And good news, Antonietta is here with us. So we're going to have that wonderful poetry reading after all. And then hopefully Estefania will be done with hosting the Oscars after all. And if not, we will come back on a little bit later, hopefully by 7 p.m. with Estefania. So please stay posted and keep checking the page if that happens. But for now, let's go ahead and let's introduce Antonietta. And just a reminder to everybody that you're watching Stand Up Fight Back. We're doing our show today at 6 p.m. I'm your co-host, Margot Paez. I'm a scientist, engineer, and occasional journalist. And of course, over here, That's Carlos. He's the amazing grassroots organizer and the other co-host of the show. And just below him, that's Antonieta. And I'm going to go ahead now and put her onto the big screen. She's our poet in residence. At least that's how I like to think about her. She's a wonderful Colombian poet, bilingual poet who's written many books and so much poetry, and it's just amazing and powerful. So thank you so much, Antonieta, for putting in all that effort to be with us this evening.
Thank you so much. I am going to read a poem I wrote many years ago, around 1999. The title is Migration Fields. To the children of the migrant workers of the world, to always remember Cesar Chavez and las madres en la frontera, and the mothers at the border. I am the child from la frontera. At the border, I am the child. I am the wanderer slicing from mud the shape of my limbs, emerging from the red river of old countries. I grasp world horizons, the sky an innocent sapphire wetness at dusk and transparent absence at dawn. I think I arrive, but not quite. My parents, where are my papito, mi mamita? I have to twist the rags of my face tighter. I am the child from la frontera. I have to endure days sharpened from knives of hunger, from knives of fear. I have to cross the river, the wall, almost, until icy flakes whistle in my eyes. I hope humanity is near, and my little hands turn to ash. I extend my arms, draw a tire. Please hold me. Please do not leave me with this umbrella of granite, rain falling inside.
Wow.
Thank you. Thank
Powerful.
you, Antonieta.
Antonieta,
What?
Yes.
you came from Colombia. Can you tell us a little bit about the struggles of the migrant people and some of the reasons why a lot of the people choose to make that the journey, a very dangerous journey, coming to the States?
I am originally from Bogota and from a barrio in the south of Bogota. Es un barrio obrero, a workers place, pretty much like East LA. And with the situation, the social political situation in Colombia, we find people being displaced from the countryside because of the violence, and from the violence it got it got to a very complex political situation there. And in the middle of all that is the people, the workers in the city, and the country people, the peasants, los campesinos, the people that does the majority of the work and the majority of the planting, the people that keeps alive the economy at that level. There's probably millions of people working the fields and planting the fields. Um, but the social economical structure is very unfair. It's a very racist, classist system and a very violent system. So a lot of the young people, we find ourselves. I came here when I was in my 20s, that even though our fathers and mothers work to get us to the university and trying to find, we don't find the opportunity. So we have to, we find ourselves being displaced to from the countryside to the cities, and from the cities to somewhere else in the world. So that's how I started going, looking for better opportunities, because I knew if I find a better opportunity for myself, that translates into a better opportunity for my family, because I've been always helping them and um, helping other people here. And it's very difficult. The paso por la frontera is a very violent uh, um, paso.
Journey.
So journey, yes, it's very difficult. So many times you found yourself having to go back and forth. If I wanted to see a family member, especially when I lost my brother to disappearance in Colombia, I wanted to go, and the only way to go was going through La Frontera, because I knew if I wanted to come back, I wasn't able to come back. But I couldn't. They told me, no, no, it's going to be very difficult for you to come back. And I had a good situation here after working very hard, and I was helping my family. So I couldn't afford to go anywhere from like 10 years until I organized my situation here. Um, and that's the story of many of us that had to go. Um, and the situation is even more complex, because a lot of the products that are uh, mm, produced in Colombia, they end up here. But it's not very fair for the country people. It's not very fair for the most of, the 80% of the workers, maybe more than that, 90% of workers. It's the same situation here, but translated into, in Colombia. So many of the foreign policies of this country affect us directly. One drop of a pin here, and it means that thousands of children died of hunger in Latin American countries. So that's pretty much my story and the story of my people.
Thank you so
So I
much.
write, I find in the way of writing a way of, for me, English is a gravestone to, I put my pain and my social discontent and these voices that need to be heard. It's not that I give them voice, they have a very clear voice, but I want their voices heard. So hopefully, I always write from the perspective of the monologue of the first person, like I am that child, because I always want to put myself on the shoes of the people that are suffering, because I want and I desperately need their voices to be heard. So, by all means, uh, helping the children at the border, children here, and the mothers means the future.
Thank you so much. We really
Thank
appreciate your
you.
voice, and we'll bring you back on later. Uh,
Yes,
toward
thank
the end.
you.
Yes, Margaret.
Thank you, Antonietta, so much for being
Thank
with
you.
us. And good
Thank
news,
you.
everyone. Estefania is with us now. Hi,
Wow.
Estefania. Thank you so much. It looks like you're still in your Oscar attire.
No, thank you guys for the patience. I really appreciate your support, and today has been a great day. Yeah, I just left the Oscars. So yeah, I was working today, but I really appreciate Carlos and you putting this together to be able to share a little bit about the work we're doing and how everybody can help. Because everybody's looking for a way to help, and sometimes people don't know how. So I'm really grateful to you guys for sharing this platform and for us to hopefully provide that opportunity. And yes, I look way too fancy, but
Look
Oscar
amazing.
Sunday, guys.
Yeah.
Look beautiful. Oh my
Thank you.
goodness. Te miras
Yeah,
hermosa.
thank you for dressing up for our show.
Of course,
Te miras
anytime.
hermosa. Oh my God. And I want to say happy birthday to you.
Oh, thank you.
Oh my, yesterday was your birthday. You celebrated your birthday. You've been working at the Oscars, you
Yeah,
know, doing amazing work at the border. This is time to celebrate you.
thank
You
you. Well,
know,
I'm dressed up for a celebration, so no, thank you so much. I mean, yeah, it was my birthday yesterday, and I think what I've learned definitely is that I'm just really grateful for community. I mean, every time you can get a present and you can get some love, and but I think what's really outstanding, with every other birthday is just discovering the things that you can't put a value on. So I'm really just grateful for community, for people that care about the work that we're doing, and who would take the time to say happy birthday to you. It's not like it's special. Just even that, sometimes people think, oh, I'm just gonna put it on Facebook. They might not even see it or whatever. But I think anyone that's taken the time to wish me a happy birthday and who does that for other people is just really great.
Well, I think Carlos wished you a real big happy birthday on his Facebook page earlier, so that was really nice. But I think now we should get in a little bit and let's hear a little bit about Estefania. Carlos. Why don't you
yes,
introduce her to our audience?
look, Estefania is one of the most special people to me. And I say that
Yeah.
because I mean that. She is so inspiring in so many different ways, down to earth. Um, when I met her, I actually met her at a Me Too event. And right away, I connected with her. I connected with her heart. I knew where she was at. And, and you know, we began to work together. But there was something special that happened a couple of years ago when the migrant crisis arrived here at the border. I want her to describe those things for us. But I got to say that she also has a big story on her own. And hopefully we get to hear that story as to why she got involved in that. But she has been one of those activists and organizers that has her feet on the ground. And I say that because there's a lot of times a lot of activists that that make it big or that are successful, and all of a sudden they start looking down at everybody else. That's not Estefania. Estefania is lifting everybody with her, which is so important to me, so important to the people that work with her. And this is why I love her so much, because she's always
Thank
looking out for everybody else and lifting them. It's not just about lifting herself, but lifting everybody else. And the work that she's doing with the kids, you saw some of the pictures that we posted. It is amazing. And Stefania, I don't want to, you're the
thank you,
day.
Gar.
I want you to speak to us. Tell us whatever you want to. Tell us that you got here. Tell us what got you started. What got you to starting this amazing uh, movement that you have started in behalf of the migrant children.
Well, that is an incredible introduction. So thank you so much, Carlos. I feel the same way about you. You know that we've definitely been through thick, through a lot of stuff in this past couple of years. And yeah, I'll share with you guys the project that we're doing at the border. So Yes We Can War Foundation is an organization that I founded along with Kyle Schmidt. That was about 2 years ago. And when the migrant crisis became more known, because this crisis has been going on for a long time, when it became international news and it got to our doorsteps, Tijuana, which is only 2 hours away from Los Angeles, I was really curious to see what had happened and if it was, if the news were really telling the story of what was going on in the ground. So I went and I haven't gone, I haven't left. So I basically really connected with the children that were there. These are children that are walking thousands of miles. Sometimes they lose their shoes, so they'll get hurt along the way. They don't have enough food to eat along the way. And these are kids who are going to be on this journey anywhere from, it could be, a month, to we have kids that have been at the border for over a year now. So what we have done is that we've created this mobile schools inside of migrant shelters where migrant children can attend full-time education Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., just like any other regular school. For us has been always really important to recognize education as a priority for children. Oftentimes in times of crisis or relief efforts, we think about food, water, shelter, and we don't really think about education for children. And these are displaced families. These are not families that are necessarily experiencing something like an earthquake that it might be a week or two. We're talking about families that are going to be displaced for months and are going to be stuck at the border for months. So this created this problem of, what do the children do? Are they just going to sit in a shelter for however long? So we created the school and we've been going ever since. We have attended over 500 kids in 2020 and we are looking to double that this year. So we're hoping to reach over 1,000 children this year with our programs. And that's pretty much what we've been up to. And as Carlos was sharing, the reason I got into this, which is the reason I care about it so much, is that my family went through this same situation. My family is from Colombia as well, and I'm sure, as Antonella had mentioned some of her story, that our country unfortunately went through a big period of time where the FARC, which is the guerrilla group in Colombia, was kidnapping a lot of parents, a lot of adults, and seeking ransoms for them. So unfortunately, my dad received some of those death threats that were very common at that time. This was in the early 2000s, and we had to leave. So all of a sudden, we found ourselves just having to pick up whatever we had and leaving, and that experience definitely marked my life. We came to the United States as asylum seekers, so I'm very, very well aware of the process that these families are going through, how difficult it is, and especially when there's such a big barrier. Because when my family came, it was right after 9/11. So there was a lot of security measures that were put in place. And it was quite difficult for us as well to get through that process. So what the families are going through now at the border over a decade after my family came is a much harder situation. So that's my long-winded answer to share with you guys some of the work that we're doing and why I'm so deeply invested into this. Because I myself, I guess today, full circle, working at the Oscars red carpet and having a professional career in entertainment, can attest to the sacrifices my family made to allow me to be here with you guys, speaking a second language, having, humbly having the life that I get to live every single day, just with just being safe. That's I think a luxury that a lot of us take for granted, and a lot of these families, that's what they're seeking for, just safety. Everything else comes after.
Estefania, you work directly with the kids. I mean, you've seen stuff that people have not seen. You have witnessed. You talk to these children. You see the trauma that they feel, that they come under,
Mm-hmm.
extreme violence. coming through a journey that is really, dangerous, risky.
I mean,
Describe.
these are definitely children that are going through an abnormal experience, and who are exposed to things that at their age they shouldn't be exposed to. We have a lot of young children, ages 5 to 10, who have witnessed their parent be killed in front of them. We have a lot of children that have also seen domestic violence within their families, and it's sometimes the reason why the mom left with the children. We have seen, we had a mom who had 3 boys, ages 12, 14, and 16, who had to leave because her boys were going to be recruited into the Maras. And if they didn't leave, they were just going to take them away from her. So that's what they did. A week they're in their house and the next they're gone. So we have a lot of children being exposed to extremely mature concepts at a very early age. And of course, that affects their development. So, for example, we have a lot of kids, the younger kids around 4 to 7, who are not at the levels that they should be at. For example, we have 6 and 7-year-olds who should be already reading and writing or having a major concept of what that is like, not being able to identify the ABC, even in Spanish. So there's a lot of work to be done, and we do work with certified teachers and also psychologists on the ground. So if there are special cases, which we have seen, we unfortunately have seen cases of also sexual violence towards children. If there's a specific case, then we work with the psychologist to be able to help these children for the time that we have them for. So that's another caveat that people maybe are not aware of, that we might have a kid with us for a month, or we might have them for 6, or we might have them for 12. So we try to maximize our program to the kids for however long we have them for. And the trauma is not only with the children. I mean, I'm sure with Carlos, as an activist, he has plentiful experience of seeing adult trauma as well. And it's really difficult because the parents don't know how to communicate to the children. So they're both experiencing the same event with different perspectives, and being affected in different ways. And at least the school has become this safe space where the children can process that. And we are just now having conversations with a partner organization that hopefully will come on board now in the summer to be able to have a program for the parents as well. So it's a lot of work. I mean, it's not easy, simple. There's no right or wrong answer. It's very complex, and it's something that I wish would be understood and taken into account in the U.S. detention centers, because especially in the past, those detention centers have had people who are not qualified to be working there, to be working with children. And that's why we've seen so many reports of abuse in detention centers. We've seen so many reports, even of some of the employees coming out to say, this was not my job. This was not what I signed up for. This was not in my job description. So I think everyone, it's easy to blame and it's easy to pass on that judgment, but it's also really important to understand that this crisis no one was prepared for. And I personally think that on the government side, with all the resources they have, this should not be the way that it is now.
Estefania, now that we have a new administration, the Biden administration, have you seen a shift at all in the way that the migrant families and migrant children in particular are being treated at the border? There's been a lot in the news recently. I think a lot of it has been promoted by Republicans, mostly to tarnish this new administration. But at the same time, we need to know what is happening. So have you seen a difference both on in terms of what the United States is doing, and also in terms of whether things have gone worse or stayed about the same since this has happened?
I think that that is a loaded question because it has a lot of topics in it. I think when the switch happened between the Trump administration and the Biden administration, we saw an immediate shift as far as the people waiting at the border. All of a sudden, there was this extreme hope that, you know, the border was going to be open, and that has all affected the influx of people coming now, because you know, we're seeing thousands and thousands and thousands of children, especially unaccompanied minors, showing up at our doors because there are certain loopholes in which parents can basically send their children alone as long as they have a sponsor on the US side that's going to pick them up, and then the parents figure out how to cross on their end. So they might turn themselves in and go through the process, or they might cross illegally. And I'm sharing this because this is the reality of it, you know. So that's one side of it. A change that we have seen was definitely the end of MPP, which was huge, the migrant protection protocols. You know, these were people that had been stuck at the border over a year. So, for example, in Matamoros, which borders Brownsville, there was a camp that existed there for 2 years, and these were mostly, I would say 80% MPP cases that were waiting for a chance, and these were mostly Central American migrants. So once the Biden administration came in, within a month, all of those people were processed.
Wow.
So I can say that there is definitely an effort to sort of process the people that have been stuck at the border, but the issue that's causing is that the US is not set up. There is no system in place to be able to take this many people. So we're seeing this ginormous influx, and the US government not being able to you know, host, basically. You know, we see now the government opening up these convention centers in different states, you know, Mississippi, Texas, California. There are 3 convention centers that have opened and or are in the process of opening. So we're seeing this sort of, like I said, effort, but it's very messy, and it's also not a sustainable solution. Because, for example, the convention centers are supposed to close in July or August. So what happens at that point? You know, what happens if there's another 20,000 people that show up at the border? Are they going to reopen those contracts? Are they going to, you know, we need permanent solutions. And I think that it just comes down to, you know, who's going to take responsibility for this, because neither governments want to, or I guess have the capacity, if that's the issue. So it's, again, it's, you know, it's a very complex situation, and I think a lot of the organizations that are at the border should definitely be leading the conversation. I think we should definitely be invited to have a seat at the table and have a voice, because we have been working with these families for so long. That I think that connection between government and NGOs and people on the ground needs to happen, and we haven't seen it to the extent of having actual solutions that can have longevity.
Right. Stefania, first I want to thank you for all the hard work you're doing, because it's amazing that you and your organization are filling a role that really should be done by the governments that have a responsibility at the border, being Mexico and the United States. And the fact that you're able to do it through your foundation, raising money just on your own and with others who are involved in your organization, I think really proves that this is something that's solvable, that it can be fixed, that you can make a difference in these lives, and it doesn't have to be an entirely traumatic experience. And so I want to open this up also to Antonieta, because both of you have this experience of migration. And I want to know, as the both of you who went through this process, what you think needs to be done in order so that more people don't have to leave their homes and cross borders and come into a new place where the language is not their language, the culture is different. and they have to adapt to a new world instead of just being able to live and grow up in the community that you came from. So I would love to hear your thoughts from both of you. And go ahead, Estefania. I'll go ahead and start with you, and then we'll bring in Antonietta with her thoughts.
I'll keep it short too. Yeah, I mean, I would say that no one leaves their home unless they have to. That's the greatest I think concept behind migration. Whether it's for safety, whether it's for economic reasons, whether it's for climate change reasons. We have some families that have left due to climate change, because their farm is no longer farmable, or there's too many mining farms in the area that they live, and they have to go. So I think that to solve the issue of having these large waves of migration, if that is what the goal is, would definitely be to be able to work in unison with the different governments and providing the specific countries with the basic things that they're asking for, which is safety, job opportunity, economic opportunity, and the biggest one being safety, really. So, I mean, if governments are able to align and provide that for people, I think individual people is very difficult, because you're talking about violent groups that are very dangerous. And if there is no repercussion to those people, then, everyone else lose faith in the government. So, yeah, that would be it. I think solving the issue of safety and economic inequality and job opportunities would definitely help.
Antonietta, what are your thoughts?
Thank you. First, I feel very proud, compatriota. You're very beautiful. And thank you for your words. And to me, that's pretty much like the $1,000,000 question. That will have to be a very profound change. And first, a reforma migratoria, an immigration reform that has that takes into account that people are not numbers or statistics, but it's a more humane, more from the point of view of the humanity. Also, creating conditions in the countries, partnering with the governments of the Latin American countries, that if we have an unification of the economy, there has to be also a unification of Latin America. And, when I say unification, a lot of people might think, oh, no, but we don't want to lose our independence. Each country continues being independent, but that's a double entendre there. Is not really real, because we are codependent from many countries for food, water. There's the export that comes and goes is great commerce, but we have to look at the bigger picture in a more humanistic way, to make sure that the policies that are applied in the countries provide those conditions for life, those conditions to help the mothers that are mostly the ones that are working. A lot of our men are going to war, and they know they don't come back. So we see a large community of women with children now, or widows, and older women, older men. And our youth are seeing a very bleak future. Also, what Estefania was pointing out about the conditions in which these children are growing are only making the violence, the culture of violence, worst for everyone. When we don't pay attention to the children in this situation, the future of violence comes back to the street. It's like when we send our men to war and we don't help them come back, that actually they never come back being the same after war. But if we don't really take care of them with programs, with real programs of reinsertion into the society, then we see the kinds of work, police, I mean, people from work joining the police force and then going and having a PTSD episode on the streets and killing a child because he's playing with a toy gun or because he happens to be black. So it's like a circle of like it creates a chain, like a dominoes effect. So it's in our best interest to make sure that the policies that our government applies are according to the realities, and that has to be definitely in a more humanistic approach.
Absolutely. I think that goes without saying for a lot of countries these days, that there's a lack of humanity in the way they are run. In the United States as well, we're seeing a lot of that these days. So thank you, Antonieta, so much for giving your thoughts on this. And I want to get back to Estefania and her organization. So Estefania, you're also doing a fundraiser right now, I think. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so yeah, thank you so much for sharing all of that. Yeah, right now, well, it was for my birthday. So there is an active fundraiser on my page, on my Facebook page. If anybody wants to support that, that one is, the goal is for $5,000. And I think we raised 1,000 just yesterday. So we're on our way there. And if anybody wants to support any sort of gift, $5, $10, anything, trust me, we stretch your dollar as much as possible. I recently, just to give you an example, Walmart had 25-cent notebooks, so we ended up getting like 100 for $35. So trust me, every single dollar goes towards the kids, and every single dollar gets stretched as much as we can, because as you were mentioning earlier, we've been really fortunate that we've had the support of people and community to back this project, and it always shocks me that we're able to do what we do with the resources we find, versus the millions of dollars available for or designated by the government for this crisis. And I'm like, if I had those millions of dollars, this issue will be resolved. you know just be humble. um because it's a choice. It's 100% a choice of how you treat people, how you manage resources, and what you do with those resources. So yeah, if anybody wants to support us, I think Carlos just posted the link, and you can also find me, Estefania Rebellon, on social media, and support our fundraiser. And next week, actually, we're launching our big fund, which is going to be the Yes We Can Migrant Children Fund. And that fund is going to be a much larger goal. We're trying to raise $400,000, and we've already gotten a couple of commitments from our supporters from last year. But we definitely need the community support that is interested in helping these kids, because everybody's always looking for a way to help. So if you find our project aligns with what you want to help with, it'll be really great if you can check out our social media. So if you're interested in our nonprofit, our website is www.yeswecan.world, and our social media is YesWeCanWF, and you'll be able to find all of our information and ways to donate and stuff. But yeah, and I would love to. I know Carlos and I have talked about this a little bit, be a lot more active about these conversations. So if there's anybody that has questions about the border, what's going on, we're definitely going to be a lot more active this month and sharing a lot more information, especially as the numbers continue to go up at the border.
Do either the United States or the Mexican governments know about your organization?
Yes. So that gets tricky. So we've been having different meetings, and It's very difficult because our project is a project that as far as education and schools, it's not, again, like I was mentioning earlier, education is not really recognized as a sort of relief measure. When there is a crisis, when there's an earthquake or hurricane, usually the resources that FEMA provides is housing, shelter, food, and health. But education falls under a different category for them. So I guess they don't know how to describe us. But we are having conversations. The other note that we have gotten is that our program can seem, enticing for more people to come, because then there's like a resource and there's better treatment and all this stuff. So it's just, I really think it's perspective. So that's on the US side. And then on the Mexico side, there's a little bit more of an open conversation. We are specifically working with the state of Baja California in getting a bunch of certifications that are going to allow us to just grow our program bigger. So it just kind of depends who you're talking to, what the interests are. And I mean, hopefully, I mean, our goal for this project would be for it to just become part of the detention centers, for the children to have access to this. And then also to go beyond that, we're also building different books that we're hoping to sort of at the end of this year, because we're currently working on that, be able to provide these books to schools in the United States that are having migrant children come into their school system, so they can have sort of an awareness of how to talk to these kids and how to work with them based on our experience. So we do have a lot of goals and vision and dreams that we want to do. So yeah, we're working on it.
Yeah. What makes this particular organization unique is that you are working directly with the migrant kids that have unique needs.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the educational programs that even school systems have not necessarily apply to them, because these are delicate kids.
Yes.
These are very broken kids in many times. And it's a scary situation for families to trust, to open. You know how to deal with it because you've been down there for almost 2 years, being, at the front line, literally at the front line, engaging these kids. So what you have to offer is unique, is effective, is powerful, and it's life transforming, because what you do right there with these kids can actually bring real hope to the children. You know how to talk to them. You know how
It's
to look
definitely specific. I
right.
mean, yeah, we're talking about just how, I mean, a comparison would be, um, just how you, I don't know, talk to a 5-year-old versus talking to an 80-year-old. There's going to be a different form that you have that conversation. There's going to be a different approach, a different sensibility, a different awareness of what that person can understand and comprehend based on their life journey. And definitely working with these kids, and we see it all the time. We get emails from the schools that are enrolling the kids once they cross to the United States, and they ask us, was this kid in your program? And we say yes. And then they're like, is there anything we should know? Is there any way that you can sort of give us an orientation? And we have done that privately with different schools around the country. Some schools also don't have Spanish speaking teachers, which is a huge problem, because now you're talking about a child that's not going to have even that, sort of uh, induction into the language unless they seek out external support or tutors, which oftentimes you have to pay for. So it's a whole revamp of how we should treat these children, not only migrating from Central America, but this happens with children from Haiti. It happens from children from Somalia in Minnesota. So it's just, I think that, I don't know why, for some reason in the past, I would say maybe since the 20s and 1920s, we've forgotten sort of what the US is. The US is a home of migrants. it has been built off that concept of welcoming different communities and building what this country is today. So the fact that right now we're just saying no, we don't want the Central Americans is very un-American, and it's very um, it doesn't come, I think, from the fabric of who we are as a country. So I'm really interested and invested in just moving this conversation forward, and hopefully in 20 years or 30 years we'll look back at this live stream, even we'll look back at this moment in history and at least be able to say that we contributed to the conversation and to the change that happened. So that's why I'm excited and passionate, and as hard as this work is, I know that eventually we'll look back and and it'll be worth it.
I was just talking to an official uh, from the city of Pomona that actually are bringing in some of the children to their as the new thing that the Biden administration is doing. We are also engaged in. You're also engaged in uh, conversations with the city of Long Beach.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, what are your thoughts? And I mean, you have a lot to offer, but the problem, this is new to them. They never done this before, so I know that there is an infrastructure they're trying to reach. What do
I
you have?
think I definitely think that new problems need new solutions. I think if you try to overcome a new problem that you're not aware of how to react to it with older solutions, then there's going to be a clash. And I understand how protective every city and every government is trying to be with this topic, because it's very unfortunately political and controversial. But I definitely think that, like I mentioned earlier, governments, whether it's at the local level or at the state level or national level, really need to rely on the people that have been on the ground the longest, really need to rely on the organizations that have been at the border, and need to rely on the information that we are willing to provide, and and conversations we're willing to have. Because you can try to reinvent the wheel, like everyone says, but if you already have it done, why are you gonna try to figure it out? And these are our children. These are not beings to be testing things with. These are children that need the support of trained professionals, and I'm sure that everyone is trying to do their best. I think that my hope would be that there's just sort of an openness to trust the expertise of the people that have been doing this for a long time. Which this is not a new conversation either, Carlos. I mean, you've been around the block many, many times, and there's always an issue that is being trying to be tackled, and for some reason, no entry point, right? For the experts, the people that are on the ground, the people that volunteer their time, the people that do this for free, the people that dedicate their lives work like you have to movements. And oftentimes maybe that's not necessarily recognized to the magnitude that it should be or valued at. So I think that would be my biggest hope, with the conversations that are being had with the Long Beach Convention Center and Pomona, also the San Diego Convention Center. It's just that it's amazing that there are systems in place, and it would be how more amazing would it be if people that have been on the ground got invited to share our expertise, which is really what we're offering.
Right.
So, yeah, that would be great.
Well, we're going to continue to work hard trying to make those connections. I know that there is a lot more to it than sometimes people see. But the organization, the Yes We Can organization, has been at the border from day one when the crisis started. As you remember, over a year and a half ago, you have been at the front lines. You deserve a seat at the table so that you can bring, solutions that that work, because you making it work.
For sure. Well, thank you, Carlos. And yeah, that's all we can hope for, ask for. I mean, I think that you've helped us with some of those conversations, and at least I think those decision makers wouldn't be able to say that they're not aware of our program. So I think it's just getting that chance to be able to, yeah, like you said, have a seat at the table, and then also just continue our work. I mean, whether it's on the US side or on the Mexico side, there's way too much need. So if unfortunately we can't be in the United States in the convention centers, which we hope to be, trust me, there many shelters and many places that need support as well on the Mexico side. So we're just gonna keep on track, keep doing the work that we're doing, and hopefully we're able to support both sides, and just continue helping the kids, which is our main priority.
Thank you, Estefania. So we're running a little bit out of time, but I wanted to just ask you a little bit about how you formed the organization, because we really try to encourage our viewers to get involved and volunteer and even start organizations like yours on their own as well. The more community we build, the better. So could you tell us a little bit how you got started, how many people you had with you at the beginning, and how much it's grown? And just any insight or advice you can give to our viewers who maybe want to do something like what you're doing, or maybe they want to volunteer with your organization.
Of course. Yeah, I would say definitely, as cliche as it sounds, everyone says it, but you just have to do it. If you sit around thinking about a project, it's probably never going to happen. So the way that we work is we sort of first come up with projects and then figure out how to do them. So we work backwards. And I think also something to share is to not be overwhelmed by the magnitude of the project or your vision, because even your vision can be sometimes too scary for yourself. So just, taking smaller steps to be able to accomplish that goal would be the biggest sort of advice that I could give. We started with literally nothing. We went down to Tijuana. I just went because I was curious. I went one day with there was a bunch of volunteers. I found out about it. It was when Bernie's Coffee Shop was, a volunteer center. There was a bunch of people that were collecting clothes. I went, and then once I got down to the border, and we decided to launch our program, we literally, I think it was $1,000 of my personal savings that I just said, I think we got to do this. We got to start a school. We went and bought some tents. We bought some materials at Walmart. And then slowly people started seeing the work we were doing and wanted to help. So it grew very organically just because people were able to witness what we were doing in real life, real time. We did a lot of live streaming. We shared a lot with people what we were doing, and that really helped to be really transparent with everyone that was interested in donating. And then in regards to the nonprofit, we really just we're very millennials. Like, we did everything online. There's great information on YouTube on how to start nonprofits, how to do your own paperwork. You don't necessarily have to hire a lawyer and have thousands of dollars, to pay someone else to file your registrations. You just gotta really be diligent with the paperwork. It's tedious, but you just gotta do it. And then the biggest thing is just, I would say 100% finding something you're passionate about. Again, it's very cliche, but if you're not passionate or if you don't care about the subject you're trying to help, you're going to burn out really fast, because this is really difficult. This is not I show up on a Saturday, take a selfie, and I've, like, I mean, running a nonprofit, it's literally just like running a business in a way. It's very intense. I've learned a lot in my time. I've had these conversations with Carlos, and I think I think we as humans get overwhelmed really fast. It happens to me all the time. And I think that for some reason, I don't know, a chip is missing in us to give us that so sort of confidence that we know we can overcome obstacles, but when we are facing them, we don't necessarily think we can. So that just brings me to finish up to, because that thought made me think of even our name. You know, when we started, we said, yes, we can, because it was very hard. So just to be able to keep doing it, I was like, that's the mantra, like if something's really difficult, yes, we can. If we need to buy a bus, I've never purchased a coach bus in my life before. If we need to learn how to drive it, if we need to learn how to convert it, if we need to raise $100,000, these are just things that for, you know, you asked me the size of our team. I mean, the size of our team was 3 people. It was Kyle, myself, and Carlos. And eventually it grew to 2 more, Victor and, other volunteers that came along and helped us convert the bus. And then another friend was Vince that came along and helped us with fundraising. And a lot, little by little, we started making other friends. But like I said, if you have an idea, just definitely go for it. Don't think about, I guess, what it's supposed to bring you or any of that, because I'm telling you, it's very difficult. So if you have any other ulterior motives, you're not going to make it. So just something you care about. If you care about, I don't know, organic gardens, what Carlos does on Saturdays, the food banks, if you care about community center, if you care about, I don't know, women's issues, just make sure it's something that it's going to it's going to create for you that wanting to come back. Every day I wake up with, like today I'm working, the Oscars, which is my other professional career. So, tomorrow if I go to the office on Monday, which is my living room, by the way, we're very small but very efficient. You know, do I want to do this job? Do I want to, continue with the nonprofit? And if the answer is yes, then you do show up and you keep working at it. But if the answer is no, then you should really think about, before you get started, before you invest your time and energy into it. So that's kind of a long answer again. I tend to ramble a little bit, but hopefully it's all useful for someone listening.
I know you're tired. You've been on your feet all day working the Oscars. Yesterday, the same way, and you going back and forth to the border. Every time I call you either in Tijuana, Mexicali, or all the way in Juarez across from Texas. You giving so much. Yesterday, you celebrated your birthday, and I cannot think of a better time to offer you support. The support that you need is now. We need people to contribute, and I'm talking to the audience that understand that this is the work that Estefania is doing is critical, is important, and is effective. We need your donations. We need you to stand up with her. She gets tired, just like you get tired. But imagine the work, that the amount of capacity that she's carrying on her shoulder. She needs you. We need to support her. This is a no-brainer. She can do a lot more. She has resources available to her. You can give a donation. I know that some of you are in the position to lift her up and to encourage her and put some wind behind her so that she doesn't have to be struggling and using every single dollar that she makes in order to be able to continue the work. She gives so much already. So I encourage my friends, if you're watching, I encourage you, instead of buying, and I hate to play that part, but instead of going to Starbucks, donate that money to Estefania, and Yes We Can project, and say, you know what, I'm gonna sacrifice my cup of coffee today, and I'm gonna give to this organization doing good work. Whatever it may be that is in your heart, please do it. This is not the end of it. We're starting to fundraise for her. We're gonna do whatever we can to raise those $5,000 and then help her with getting those $400,000 so that the three schools that she's uh, managing and working with be able to have enough resources to be able to carry through the year.
Yep, absolutely. It sounds a little bit like a telethon right now, but this is, unfortunately, this is how the world works. We have to pay for things, and this is a wonderful organization. So, you know, those of you who have some of those cryptocurrency earnings sitting around, you know, scrape a little bit off of that and pass it down to Estefania's organization, because it's so important. We have to support our grassroots organizations. It's the only way that we are going to succeed. I saw some questions in the chat earlier, really asking some very serious questions like, how do we stop all this from happening? How do we get beyond this two-party corporate system, you know, living under this oppressive society that we exist in under capitalism? And this is the way that we do it. We support each other, we do good work, and we invest our money in the right places. And Estefania's group is one of those places where you should be putting a little bit of your money in when you can. And of course, any of the organizations that we bring on the show, we ask you to please give them $5, $10, $1, whatever you have. It goes a long way.
People can give $10,000.
Yeah, or 10,000.
You know, we got people that got that kind of, you know, so please, let's be bold. Let's not hold back. You know, if you're capable of giving $1,000, give it. You know where that money is gonna go. I put my name behind this organization. I believe it. I've seen the blood and tears that Estefania has put into this project. So please, I ask you to help her.
Thank you, guys. You're both incredible. Thank you so much for your support. If anyone is interested, definitely reach out to us. You can find out more information on our website and our social media. And yeah, we're just really grateful for your support. And like Carlos said, you know, the help is needed now. So if you're in that position, then please consider supporting our program. And we'll be sharing a lot more information, videos, and everything, so you can get more familiar with the work we do and how your donations truly make an impact.
We have Antonieta. I think she wants to dedicate a poem to you. Antonieta.
Yes. Uh-huh. This is a poem. I am a poet. I write in Spanish most of my work, but I wanted Estefania to hear this poem because I wrote this poem in Spanish. It's a poem that has, I don't know if I can show it and it can be seen. It has the form of a tree. And I wrote it to my little brother Pedro, that he died of disappearance in Colombia in 1990. Se titula Jarabe de fumo encantado con zapatos verdes. I'm going to read the Spanish and the English. De pronto imaginas unos zapatos verdes y me dices que sé lo que quieres. Quieres unos zapatos verdes de pasto, de hojas, con suela de musgo y cordones de raíces. Rápido, que tus piernas quieren ser árbol, que tus brazos ya son ramas, que con la punta de tus uñas se teje un nido y se escriben por tus dedos los sabores de la miel. I wrote this
Wow, thank you.
for my brother because, yeah, you can see it's the remembrance I have of my brothers when we were children playing, and he loved trees and the forest. And since he disappeared, to me, he went into the elements. And I wrote this poem thinking of that possibility that he's there with the nature. So syrup of enchanted smoke with green shoes. to my little brother who died of disappearance. Suddenly, you imagine a pair of green shoes, and you tell me that I know what you want. You want a pair of green shoes made of grass, made of leaves, with soles made of moss and strings made of roots. Quick, that your legs want to be a tree, that your arms are already branches, that a nest is knitted with the tip of your nails, and your fingers are writing the flavors of honey. And I have a group of friends that have been going to Tijuana to help to to spend to spend time with the children.
Oh,
And a lot Olga, she's from Colombia, she lives in Santa Paula. She is a teacher. She teaches high school to the younger children, and she tells me of the experience, and I've been wanting to go there. I don't have a car right now. I have to give up my car, uh, but I've been looking forward to be able to go there. And I said I would love to do a workshop, a poetry, a creative writing workshop, so these children have the tools to write their stories. And I know the power of writing helps to process a lot of that vulnerability, a lot of that pain. And I've seen children starting with art and writing and feeling the power of writing and incorporating that into their lives. So um, I'd like to share that with you. And I feel very proud of Estefania. Thank you so much for your work.
yeah. Thank
Yes,
you. Yeah, of
absolutely.
course, we'll definitely connect. And if it's possible in the future, definitely.
Thank you both.
Gracias. And thank you, Margot, and thank you, Carlos, again, and thank you to the Brigada de Bernie, the Bernie Brigade.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Antonieta. Thank you, Estefania.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so much.
both.
Thank you.
And for making time out of your very busy weekend covering the Oscars. We are so glad that we could finally get you on again and to share more about your organization. Thank you for giving us this so important update on what's happening at the border. We have to always keep this in our minds. It's one of those things that we have to keep struggling for and making sure that we end this injustice. I know it's a very complicated one, but we have to keep trying and not forget these families and these children are just trying to have a better life, bottom line. And they're all good people, hardworking people too. So
Thank you
thank
so
you.
much thank you so much for inviting me, and I definitely I'm grateful for your time as well. So thank you guys.
Well,
Thank you.
Carlos, do you have any final thoughts before we sign off?
Oh, my only final thoughts are, we are blessed to have Estefania in our
Oh my gosh.
gift, from above. She's a tower of light, of hope.
You're
I,
too
I
much.
feel like tears of joy just for the fact that the work that she has done touching the lives of so many kids. Happy birthday to you, Estefania.
Thank you. I'm hopefully
Okay.
gonna be able to
Happy
celebrate tomorrow.
birthday.
I've been working all weekend, so I need to celebrate with my family. But thank you guys. Thank you so much, and your absolutely beautiful, kind words. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys and everything you do for so many, highlighting the work that people are doing. So a round of applause for you as well for doing this and being committed to it every single Sunday. Thank you guys.
No, absolutely.
Happy
It's
birthday,
our
Estefania.
pleasure. And finally, Estefania, we'd like to give you the last word. So would you like to share any final thoughts on your work or anything in particular before we go?
Wow. Well, thank you everybody for listening. If you made it through the whole show, thank you for still being here and for being open to this subject. I know that it can be very difficult for people to sort of understand that, you know, the humanity, as you guys were saying, besides the politics that come along with this topic. So thank you everybody for listening. If you want to learn more, Carlos shared our fundraiser and also all of our social media is Yes We Can WF, and we're pretty easy to find online. So if you just want to find us, you can do it. And thank you so much. And again, an encouraging thought for anyone out there thinking about starting a project is just do it. Be passionate about it and don't worry about the little details because you'll learn along the way.
Thank you so much, Estefania. And thank you to our viewers for your patience and your flexibility today. We got it together in the end, and I really hope that you enjoyed tonight's show. Just a reminder, you've been watching Stand Up Fight Back. I'm Margot Paez, co-host. Below me is Carlos Marroquin, the other co-host on this show. And we air this wonderful program every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern time. And on the occasion, we will flip to our 6 p.m. time slot like we did today, but we try to give you advance notice as much as possible. So please tune in next week, and don't forget to share us with your friends, your family, your next door neighbor, the person who bags your groceries. Let them know that we have this amazing show here. It's aired primarily on the Bernie Sanders Brigade page, and make sure you like the page. And like I said, send it to everyone you know, because that's how we get these wonderful interviews out to as many people as possible. So don't forget, get vaccinated, get that second dose, wear that mask still. We're not out of this yet. And we'll see you next week. So good night,
I have
everyone.
a question, Margot.
Oh, yes, Antonietta.
Yeah, I wanted to know because I think that the program will be recorded, no? It is there, so we can
Yes.
share it later.
Yes, it is. Thank you so much for asking this question. So the program is recorded. You can see it in the archives on the Bernie Sanders Brigade page and also on YouTube. You just look up Insight Out News. That's my organization that doesn't really do anything nowadays, but that was my news organization. That's Insight, as in is insightful, Insight Out News. So just look that up on YouTube and you'll see an archive of these recordings there. Plus, if you're interested, there's all of my videos from when I did reporting on Occupy LA all those years ago. So thank you, Antonietta. Thank you, Estefania.
Thank you.
And thank you to our viewers. Good night, everyone. We'll see you
Bye.
next week. Stay safe. Wear a mask.